these are all the things that we need to pay attention to in our programs. So let's just kind of look at them for just a second. Social media, for those of you that are my clients and those of you that have been to any of my presentations at Torch or Texas Healthcare Trustees conferences or anything like that, you know that I am a big advocate of social media, Facebook in particular, for the small and rural community hospitals and clinics. This is, and by the way, I just mentioned hospitals and clinics. I know we've got some clinics that are attending right now. So even if you, as the hospital district, own the clinic, in my opinion, you should have a Facebook page for your hospital and a Facebook page for your clinic. So just kind of keep that in mind. But social media, it is so important, for the rural hospitals. And a good program is what's really important here. When I say there's a good program, one of the things I want to kind of impress upon you is it's not all about you. So what makes the program good is for you to provide health and wellness information mixed in with some of the stuff that's going on at your local facility. So that's one of our programs that we are going to integrate during our marketing conversation here. Another one is public relations. It is said that the articles in the paper, ink in the press, is worth 3 to 5 times more than the ad that you buy. So if you buy an ad and you pay $300 for that ad, which would be a pretty good price, but if you pay $300 for that ad, if you had a story that went with that and it was in the paper, then that story would actually be worth anywhere from 300 times 5 or 300 times 3, depends. So $900 to $1,500 or more, because it's in the story form. People believe that that is part of the newspaper. And most of the newspapers are very supportive of our rural hospitals and very thankful to have a story that they didn't have to write. And all of that, by the way, social media and public relations, those are in your SRJEasyHealthcare.com toolbox. So for clients, you already know that. For those of you that are guests, explore that. Go into the example page and take a look at that, and you'll see the kinds of things that are available to you. So my goal is, when I'm working with the client, is to have a story in the newspaper. If it's a weekly newspaper, I want to have a story about 3 out of 4 times a month. So basically 75 to 100% of the issues that come out in that local paper, I want to have something about the hospital or the medical staff or the clinic or one of our departments. I want to have something in that newspaper. And by the way, those are all over there in SRJ Easy Healthcare. Your website, it's a critical component. If it's old and clunky, it's not leaving a very good impression with your hospital. I'm not trying to sell SRJ services, but call me up. We can certainly talk about a new website for you. But your website ought to be parallel to your marketing program. For instance, this month, we are talking about breast cancer awareness and our mammograms and the other piece that we sometimes leave out, if we're not working with me, I guess, are DEXA scans. For those of you that have the ability to do those, it's an important service for women and men, actually. Every 2 years, I believe it is, for Medicare eligible folks, their scans are paid for. And so there's a wonderful opportunity to do what we need to be doing for our community, keeping them healthy and well and identifying any particular problems. But our website ought to parallel our program. So, we've got a story about breast cancer awareness. We have a social media post or 2 or 3 or 5. And we have our website that is parallel to that. Same thing on the advertising, going over to the other side for just a second. On the advertising, we have the same kinds of things going on. We want to have a story or an ad about our mammograms or our wellness exams or whatever it is that's parallel our marketing program. So now we've got advertising, social media, public relations, website, all working together. So let's get out in the community. Let's interact. Let's go over to the Senior Citizen Center and give an educational program on the values of the mammograms and what to expect, or how often do you need it, or answer their particular questions. So let's take with us some good quality collateral material, not a brochure that was done in-house that was put on a Xerox machine, because that does not represent your hospital the way that you want it to represent your hospital. You know, people are very visual, and they look at those handmade brochures and they form an impression. It's like, ooh, this doesn't look good. And psychologically, it impacts, you know, what it is that they're thinking about the hospital and your radiology department or your services. So, you know, let's move away from those Xerox kind of brochures that are handmade. And so we get out there into the community and we interact with them. We take some nice-looking business cards and a brochure with us when we speak to the groups for folks to take away. So now they've got something that they take back into the home. If we're speaking, we ought to have a banner behind us, or as people are walking in, we ought to have a banner with our logo on it so they know and identify that you know, who the speaker is. There's you know, those are all good techniques from the community interaction. We're going to talk more about that here in a few minutes. The sales is also there because I think that we owe it to ourselves to you know, be just a little bit more aggressive in the sales strategy. What I mean by that is, for instance, right now we're at the end of the year and we've got people that will take advantage of or won't take advantage of the free wellness exams, the annual wellness exams. For those with insurance, those are free once a year. For those with Medicare, you know, those are free as well. And you know, I've been, according to an article that we just put out in one of our markets, the CDC says that it's estimated that over 50% of those who are eligible for annual wellness exams do not take advantage of them. So that's why I say sales. It's like, let's identify them. Let's get into our you know, clinic records. If we're a rural health clinic, let's get into those clinic records and take a look at it and find out who has had their wellness exam this year and who hasn't, and pick up the phone and call them and say, Ms. Jones, we noticed that you haven't had your wellness exam this year. We'd like to invite you to do that. Can you do Tuesday, or would Thursday be better for you next week? That, like Tuesday or Thursday, moving them right into that process. That's sales, I get it. But you know what? When you're talking about a wellness exam, it's not the you know, the 100 plus, 300, 400, 500, whatever dollars that's coming into your clinic practice. It's also the lab work and the x-rays and all those things that might be appropriate depending upon what the provider's assessment is. So that's good revenue stream, but it's also taking care of our community with those wellness exams. Same thing with the screenings for our mammograms and our DEXA scans. You know, to be proactive, not just send a postcard. That's good, please do that, but to also you know, pick up the phone and call them. If you're having a flu clinic, and I've got a client that's having a flu clinic this very afternoon, a drive-through flu clinic, and you know, what a great time to take the appointment book, so to speak, out there. And as the women come in, just talk about, you know, just wondering, because we care about your health and well-being, have you had your annual wellness exam? And if they say no, then just say, well, why don't we call you on Monday and we'll get that scheduled. Or if you've got your scheduling book, we could just schedule it right there. Have you had your annual mammogram? You know, those kinds of things. Those are good things that we can do for our community. They happen to generate some revenues as well.